all. Welcome to episode 21 of Kingdom of Kodiak. I am Kodiak. With me today is Beatrix. How you doing today?
Hi, doing good.
Good. Well, let's get you started right into the bare necessities if we could. Sorry, Sin. So, you haven't officially played Amtgard,
Nope.
but how long have you been doing LARPs and games as such?
LARPing, I've been doing it for I played for about 7 years within Belagarth and before I moved to Albuquerque, and then I've kind of been out of the LARP scene for about a year and a half or so. So if you include that time of being out, 9 years, but if you include actually playing, about 7.
Cool.
And that's mainly been with Belagarth.
Cool. And where does Beatrix come from?
So Beatrix actually comes from my middle name, which is Beatrice. So like the actual formal, or beet rice if you want to spell it out. But I first started as like a half elf, right? But that's too pinky for Belagarth. So over time, I started evolving into more and more monster types. So I started with, the half elf, and then I went to being a fairy, and then they were like, that's still a little too pinky. And then I went to a harpy, and then by the time I was a harpy, I was like, Beatrice doesn't sound like the right, like you wouldn't have a harpy named Beatrix. And so I said, all right, I got to edge it up. And so I went with Beatrix. And the joke is too that I can either spell it with an X or a Z, and she's like, it's spelled the same way. So it doesn't matter. But then Cleo messaged me actually when I joined and was like, how is it spelled? Because you keep switching. And I was like, oh, you guys actually like write stuff down. Yeah. I need to actually be able to spell my name consistently. And then so I've just gone with the X ever since.
Okay. Now, before we go on with the bare necessities, can you clear up the term pinky so that the viewers at home will know what we're talking about through the rest of the questions?
Oh, sure. So I actually got clarification on this too, because I thought pinky had reference to skin color, but no, that's been kind of a bastardization over time. Pinky was originally meaning like your pinky finger, so being a weakling. And then over time, monsters lore and monsterdom is very big in Belagarth. And so over time, that started to mean anybody that wasn't a monster was a weak little pinky. And so slowly that started taking over. So that's what it means, is basically non-monster type folks.
Okay. All right. So we just had our first mid-reign, so you have an opportunity to answer this question. What's your favorite award that you received?
Probably the facade one. I really liked that. Being able to role play is one of my favorite things to do. And I really enjoyed doing that and jumping right into that with you, Kodiak, and with Deverick and Gideon and Jupiter and those folks. And so that was probably my favorite so far. It was really cool.
Yeah, it was nice to hand out too. You haven't got to play a battle game in Amtgard, so this is giving you the preface to a lot of these questions.
Pardon me. It's the same battle games though. Like
sure.
There's capturing the flag, there's like kill the king, stuff like that. It's just that we don't throw freeze balls at people. That's it.
Okay.
Like that's.
So what's your favorite battle game then?
My favorite battle games are actually like gauntlets. So where you have somebody sit in the middle and then it's a circle and then you fight everybody in that circle. And then if you win, if you're in the middle and you win, you get to go outside the circle, the person gets to come in. And it's really a great opportunity to fight everybody, as well as a great opportunity for folks who maybe are too afraid to fight maybe the more experienced ones, or maybe, new kids never getting the opportunity. They really get to, and so you get to see all the different fighting styles. And then I like doing that with weapon of choice. So if I want to go out and practice polearm against a bunch of different other weapon types, but different weapon types, I get to be able to do that.
All right. Well, why don't we ask the weapon question first, since you haven't got to experience any of the classes, and this will get your chance to reprieve on what your favorite weapon type is, because you can not say polearm if you don't want to. Or you shouldn't.
Sorry, is that a question? Did you ask me a question, or were you just trying to get me to not answer something?
What's your favorite battle type when it comes to weapons, and why is it not polearm?
You ruined my joke too, man. I just want you to know I had totally prepped a joke, which is what's your favorite weapon style? And I would have said pole, and then you would have moved on, and then I would have said, oh, arm. That's an important distinction.
So, what would be your favorite weapon style that's not polearm?
I like sword and board. I think if I'm not doing pole arm, I'm doing sword and board, as well as red fighting. I really like red fighting, and I think it makes, I did actually watch the full Wheel episode. The representative from the Wheel, what was his name?
Sir Anatole.
Sir Anatole. Yeah, so I watched his, and I totally agree. It's a lot of fun to just go in with a big weapon and just start whacking people with it. And then I think grappling's my last, which I've talked to you about, which I'm like, you guys need more of this because it's such a great time.
I'm sure there would be people that play our game that would be very happy to hear that you enjoy grappling, but not an Empire. All right.
Well, if you see me on the sidelines and you have a dagger and you want to grapple, just do it. Like, this is full invitation to, if you see me and I'm just standing there and we want a dagger fight real quick, just go for it. It's so much fun. And I do that a lot of times at the Bell Field and stuff. It was just free springing dagger fights.
Cool. So you've signed in a lot as Barbarian.
Yeah.
I'm sure you've read the rule book. What do you think your favorite class will be when you get a chance to play?
So I think when I get a chance to play, it will either be Barbarian or Monk. And I've heard from a lot of Belagarthians that the Monk is really like the class to go to because it's the easiest to transition to, and as you level up in it, you just don't have to care about magic as much. But I also think anti-paladin's rad. So like Goal, that I know, but he also, like, we were talking about Pink as an anti-paladin, and that sounds really fun. And then I get to be evil. Like, I don't want to play like a nice paladin character. I want to do evil stuff. And so I want to do my evil anti-paladin thing.
And of course, Sir Francis is probably in the crowd right now cheering. More ice cream will be served, apparently, at some point.
I love ice cream.
Yes. So those are the bare necessities. I would like to preface the general questions that we do here on Kingdom of Kodiak with, if you haven't seen it yet, go to the Kingdom page. Sir Glenelf has received a toaster.
It's a little toaster. It's the little of toasters.
So now I've got to modify my question to, should Sir Glenelf get a toaster, to what do you think of Sir Glenelf's toaster?
Well, let me look at the toaster. What flavor of toast is that? Wait, that's a stupid question. My brain went, that's a Pop-Tart. And then what I said was, what flavor of toasters?
You're doing great. You're doing great.
But, oh, Lord. But that looks good. That looks
Okay.
like a good toaster.
That's
Looks like
quality
good
toaster.
toast.
That quality toast. All right. So we have a four-parter here. So I'm going to need you to answer each of these focused in on, what are your thoughts on bears?
Wait, is that, so question one?
Question one, what's your thought on bears?
They're dirty scavengers.
Question two, who is the best bear?
Pandas.
Wow. Shots.
I'm partial to Kodiaks, but, you know.
Well, is it true that bears are trying to take over Dragonspine?
I think this leads us into our next question.
Are you, like many of those officers, a bear in human disguise?
Let me think about this one for a second. I need to contemplate this.
Oh, good. Good. So here we are at Kingdom of Kodiak, where Kodiak is by himself for a moment. I wonder what she's doing. Oh, this could be interesting. It's almost like she rehearsed or something for Kingdom of Kodiak, folks. off screen. Oh my.
I'm sorry, what?
So the question was, are you, like many of those in office, a bear in human disguise?
I'm a panda. In human disguise. I didn't actually now it's falling off. I can't do the ears and the headphone at the same time. Rawr.
Well, there you go, Kron. You asked for it, and man, you didn't see it coming. I promise you didn't. All right. Third question in our general set of questions. Still, I wanted to know, what's your thoughts on Dragonspine getting a pool?
I think you should get a hot tub.
Okay. Go ahead.
Well, like pools are nice and everything, but hot tubs are just way more comfy, way more cool for hanging out.
Cool. And would bears be allowed in the hot tub?
No, they're too hairy. You get hair all in the pool.
Yeah, so there it is. Sorry. We're already on other sides of it at this point. It's a berry bear world, and we're barely.
And we're not. Well, we could have a bear pool. How about that? If we have enough bears, then we would just have a bear pool and have additional filtration for that.
All right, there we go. Dragonspine's gonna have to spring for a bear-only pool as well.
Bear-only pool.
And Stillhead would also like to know, and this is as vague as it's supposed to be, what are your previous developed skills? Yeah,
that was really vague. So what I did was I wrote down all of them. I have notes, which I haven't referenced at all this whole time. So I had a few. So leadership skills is like organization, small committee leadership. So I led the Belagarth group at what's going on?
Nothing. Don't worry about it.
No, what's getting read? Read it out to me.
There's all sorts of bear puns. They're the best bear puns ever by our listeners.
Okay, good, because I couldn't get it to work up here, so I can't see it, but I honestly think it's better because I would get way too distracted. Distracted by your smiling, that's, So, okay, so small committee leadership, project management, facilitating large events, and fundraising. So some of those skills for my resume there still had. Fighting, again, it's been a little bit, so I'm not super confident in being like, I'm the best polar fighter still, but I was pretty good at it. And then sword and boarding was pretty good at that, as well as some red fighting. And then other developed skills. So I have been getting into sewing, which I still suck at hems and stuff, but I'm still working on that, still getting better at that. And then I do like to sing. And so I'm really excited for bardic competitions and stuff, or not really competitions, just singing around a fire pit and things like that. So I'm excited about that, and excited about that being more a part of this Amtgard culture.
Cool. I'm surprised you didn't say nunchuck skills. So
I don't think I have those. No.
Well, are you really trying if you don't have nunchuck skills?
I'm sorry to disappoint you. I just listed out a bunch of great stuff, and you're like, But not nunchucks.
Not nunchucks, though. Okay. So, as tradition, I break down the questions that are asked to these people into categories. And I think it's pretty obvious what the categories for Beatrix would be. It would be Belagarth and Amtgard. So, we're gonna start with the Bell breakdown. Kron wants to know, on your time in Belagarth, were you more of a fighter, a role player, or a crafts person?
Fighter, and I'll tell you a little bit why. So in Belagarth, there's really fighters, and then there's non-coms. So there's combatants, non-combatants, and non-combatants are, there's just not that many of them. There's not a lot of award systems for them and things like that. So there's really not much of a setup for it. We're really a war-based game, and a battle for the horde based game, you know, very monster in that way. And so there's really only those, and then role playing. There's not a lot of it. You can if you want, but it's not something that's really imbued in the culture or something that you do at certain events. The only role play that we get is typically around like goblins attacking the whole tent or all the tents on the first day and stealing stuff, and then you have to fight to get it back. That's like a role play thing that can happen at Bell events. But again, it's less around actual role play dynamics.
Okay. Still would like to know, how did you develop your persona?
Well, I think she said personas.
Well, there's no S on there, so I would say persona.
Oh, okay. Then I must have written it down wrong. Okay. So, my so prepared. So, my personal persona with Beatrix is actually, it's just kind of been evolved over time with how I felt as myself as a fighter, and also playing on the fact that I'm really nice in person, and so, or I feel so, but like on the battlefield, that's not the persona that I wanted. I wanted to be something fiercer, meaner, even more evil, more monster. And so over time, I started to develop what that was, and actually made many renditions on it. Now I like the whole dichotomy with her persona around being a demon and working past that. And now, you know, part of her persona is that she actually has and I guess I'll go into the developing the persona more than my actual persona, but I do a lot of research around different storylines, different lores, and especially since I've decided on demon, I do a lot of research around demon lore and around the different renditions of that in both Christian and non-Christian religious sects. And that helps me to develop what are the different things that she'd go through, what are the different pieces that she'd be a part of in history, and then how could I use that into my own fighting persona.
Well, fantastic. Darius would like to know, what is a memorable moment from Belagarth?
So I do have one, and I do have one. So there was a really cool moment that it started out not so great, and then I turned it into something pretty great. Because this was my first event that I ever went to in Bell. And so I was a very new fighter at the time. I was only about 2 years in. And I had known that there was sexism in the sport, but I hadn't experienced that much of it at my local realm because we were pretty diverse. And so I went to this event, and I was on the battlefield, and I was doing my sword and board thing, you know, having a good time. And sometimes when you're doing line fighting, because I also understand that Amtgard's not very good at line fighting because of how your stuff works. I don't know. That's just what I heard. But all right. Don't get upset. Okay, you guys are great at line fighting. I've never seen it. There you go. So, so in line battles, there was a guy holding a huge red in the front and just like doing the same move where he was and just breaking shields. And so I come in as part of the shield wall, and then what he does is he comes through, and then he comes back around and he hits the back of my knee. And so I go to the ground, and then I take my leg, and I'm fine. Like, I'm okay. I just got knocked to the ground. I'm in Bell. What are you going to do? But this guy goes, oh, I'm dead. Like in front of everyone on this line. He goes, oh, I'm dead. I'm sure. And I looked at him and I was like, why'd you call dead? Like, we're just 10 feet away from each other. Like, why did you call dead? And he's like, well, I hit you pretty hard and you're a girl. And I didn't say anything on the field, but again, he's shooting this at me, and I'm sitting there going, this is my first event, and this doesn't make any sense, you know? And so I was really pissed. I was furious. And so I went off to the side and I told my friends, And the typical response was, well, kill him. You should kill him. And I was like, all right, I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna kill him. And so I get my sword and bird, and I kind of watch him for a fight where he does the same move, just the same thing with his red. And so I come at the next battle, and I just charge in front of the line, and I'm like, I have my friends cheering behind, go Beatrix, and so I charge in front of the line, and I hit away his red, and then he comes back through for follow-up, and I hit it away again, and then I just stab him as hard as I can in the gut, and and he goes down, and I was like, don't you ever call dead, because I'm a girl. And I walked away. He did not talk to me that entire event, nor did he try to fight me that entire event. So that's probably one of my favorite moments in Bellegarde.
Awesome. That's a great story. Referencing the chat, if I could, Kenjin would like to know what flavor of demon is Beatrix?
What flavor of demon? I don't know what that means. So I'll give a little bit of backstory. So she is based off of Christian mythology of demons, as well as Dante's Inferno. I really love Dante's Inferno. That's probably one of my favorite books, and one of my favorite references to demonology and the Christian lore of hell. It's also a fantastic story. So she is supposed to be Beelzebub's ward, and so she was a demon created for for Beelzebub to serve as his serve as a conqueror of souls. And so at an early age, she was found to be early age, because in my mythology, she didn't age. She was born out of hell and brimstone. And this is a very nerdy conversation, but so she was born out of that, and then she had a great propensity for lies and deception, for deceit. And so and since Beelzebub is the demon lord or demon prince of both gluttony and lies and deception, she was sent above ground to capture souls. And so she actually is pretty well known. She's just not very well known in like her own new power of lava, which if people want me to go into it, I can go into that story. Absolutely. But it's a big, you want me to do that?
Yep, absolutely.
Okay. Whew. All right, I'm gonna drink a little bit.
The power.
Okay, so in the deep depths of hell, she has been trying to capture souls she has been capturing souls for Beelzebub for centuries. And she's tired of it. She doesn't want to do this anymore. She seeks what all demons want, which is freedom, and to be able to seek her own chaos and her own death and destruction. And so she says, I have been the best at lies and deception. I have gotten you so many souls. I've gotten you kings and queens and dragons and all of these powerful beings. You should free me. And Beelzebub laughs at her and says, no way. You will never be free. And she says, well, what is it? Oh God, what was the story? She said, if you allow me this one chance, if I fail, I will never complain again, and I will capture souls for the rest of eternity. And she's quite a talker, so that was actually a big thing. So he says, okay, you have 30 days to capture me the most powerful soul that I've ever had. More powerful than I've ever gotten before. So she's like, I will do that. And so she searches far and wide, trying to find, sorceresses and wizards and kings, most powerful beings. She hasn't quite found the soul yet. That is the most powerful. And then she hears in a tavern, she's sitting in the tavern, about a week away from the end. And somebody goes, the world just keeps destroying itself. What are you talking about, you drunk dwarf? What do you mean the world's destroying itself? Well, up the hill, there continues to be constant destruction and then regrow. And I was like, what are you talking about? And he's like, the red fiery substance. She's like, lava? Is that what you're talking about? And he's like, yes, that. It keeps remaking itself over and over. I know there's an elemental up there. She thinks about it. She's like, I don't think I've ever captured an elemental before. And so she goes up, and of course she is immune to fire, but she goes up to the top of this, what she finds to be a volcano. And as she could see, there is lava just spewing out. And she hears the cries of what sounds like a female's cries. And so she dons herself into what looks like this. Which is a young red-haired woman. So she goes down and she talks, this elemental is crying, and she says, why are you crying? What is wrong? And the elemental is first like very shocked and like, how are you here? How could you possibly get here? And she's like, well, I heard you crying and I am immune to flame. And so the elemental guesses that she's just a powerful sorceress. She must just be a powerful sorceress.
Right.
No way she's a demon. And she laments and she says, I create, but I never get to see my creation. Volcanoes are what make this world. Lava is what makes the earth and makes the ground that sprouts life. And she's never able to escape from it. What the dwarf had been seeing was her trying to get to the edge and realizing that as she gets closer, it suddenly destroys everything in her path because she's just flowing lava. And she's so hot, she can't walk among her creations. And so Beatrix, she says, well, I have to make a deal with my maker where I have to capture a soul. And I will make a deal with you. If your soul becomes a part of me, if we become one, you will then get to experience your creations. We will walk among this world together. And you will get to actually see this, and I will be free. I will be able to walk freely among you, same as you. And so she agrees. And so she takes the lava elemental soul, she captures it, and now holds it within her. And Beelzebub, of course, had never captured an elemental, and especially one as powerful as lava. So that's the way that she got out of her, it's hard to tell the whole story. So that's how she got out of Beelzebub's clutches. But now she has this lava elemental inside her that doesn't know how to control her powers. Neither does Beatrix. And so that's why in our role play that we do every week, like, she has a hard time actually harnessing this because this is absolutely new for her. And it becomes too much. And it's the first time, because demons don't have souls in this lexicon, that she has a soul. And so I'm really enjoying playing with that soul. And sometimes when she clutches her chest like that, it's because the lava elemental is saying, no, don't do that. Don't kill the child. But Beatrix is like, kill the child. So it's really fun, and I don't know where this is gonna go, but that's the reason why I decided to go to the Kingdom of Kodiak and go to your school, is because to learn how to harness this lava power that she has now.
Cool. That's awesome. That's a great story. So Randall has referenced that you're just prepping for next week by telling great stories. Spoilers for the end of the episode. Kenjin would like to know, what lessons would you like to carry forward from your time for Belle into Amtgard?
I have notes for that too. I got really lost now in like my character's backstory. Okay. It's also very hot. So I think personally I'd like to be able to use AmpGuard and use the ability to do things like arts and sciences and bardic stuff and things like that to kind of combat my natural competitiveness. I mean, I've talked with you about it, that I'll need to take breaks off the field because I do tend to get overly anxious. I get overly competitive. And then I just need to take a step back because I will get a lot. And avoiding that burnout will be really important. But I also, another bit of personal, but also within AmpGuard is really focusing on the people and the relationships that I have within AmpGuard. That, I mean, it'd be cool if I'm knight of everything, but if I don't have friends at the end of the day, you know, what do I really have? And that's the reason why I wanted to join Belagarth again, was I was like, I'm done with normal friends. Like, I tried this thing, did a little bit. I'm tired of talking about people's gardens. I want to tell demon stories. And then I think just continuing to be curious about everything. As much as there's a piece of me that's like a Belagarthian that's like, screw magic. I'm like, we're all just nerds hitting each other with sticks. So I'll try it and I'll do some stuff and I'll be curious and continue to keep my eyes open while trying new things.
That's great. I think once you actually start using some magic and some abilities and stuff, you're going to find out that it's pretty wonderful. You have an opportunity to learn from some of the best AmpGuarders in the nation. And, you know, I'm also a player of the game. So I'm there too, I guess.
Was that a slight at you?
Self burns are the best burns. Moving on. Zachary
Your
wants
hair
to
looks
know,
nice today.
Zachary would like to know about some of the pros and cons of cross gaming. You haven't played AmpGuard?
No, but I got some.
Okay.
Pros, and this is again, like, this is also what I've heard from other cross gamers, because I do have a couple friends that have done AmpGuard. So they said that you get different skill sets from each game, and you know, you get to be a more dynamic LARPer. There's a phrase of if you can get AmpGuard speed and you can get Belagarth power, you will roll. And so achieving those two are really like would be something that I would be interested in if going the fighting route and things like that. Which of course, when I talk to Belagarthian, that's pretty much what they focus on. So, and then cons, the terms can be confusing. I mean, we do use slightly different terms for everything. So trying to like switch back and forth. I mean, I do like, for example, I do AmpGuard Saturday afternoons, and then Saturday evenings, I do Belagarth. And so sometimes I have to like switch back from park to realm and fighting company to fighting unit, you know, stuff like that. And then it's weird talking about either game with people who don't cross game. So like, for example, I said that like the line battle thing and your face got all like mad. And I'm like, I'm just saying, like, so, but we don't know. So it's if you're targeting people who don't cross game, you have to be kind of careful, because like people are really proud of their game. So if you say like one game's a little bit better than the other game, it's something they're like, ooh. So and then I found out event conflicts are going to be something, because you were mentioning GTOC, and I was like, that's Chaos Wars, which is a huge Bell event on the West Coast. So we'll have to see who I like better.
Oh. Call to action, Dragon Spine. Call of action, Kingdom of Kodiak viewers. We have one mission and only one mission. That is to win the GOTC, whatever the Bell event clash is. And the only way to win is to get Beatrix to attend. That's it. That's what we're doing.
That's it. That's all. Yeah. That's your next. What is it? Your next reign. If like your number one goal, get Beatrix go to DLC.
Yeah. All right.
Thanks.
Okay. Well, that's the Bellegarth side of these conversations. Let's get to some Amcard questions now.
Yeah, the important part.
So, Sarando would like to know what you're looking forward to doing in person for Amcard.
Shut up. I'm prepared. I don't want to lose. Where is it? There's the lessons.
So she wrote all of the questions out and then answered all the questions. And she's going to reference that paper for every one of them, except instead of speaking from the heart.
It's because speaking from the heart is a lot of anxiety. Okay, so forward to in person. Hugs. That's what I look forward to in person. And then fighting some nerds.
Okay.
Because that's what we're all here for, is to whack some nerds, man.
All right. And then what have you enjoyed about the online Amcard?
So I've enjoyed meeting people outside of my social anxiety. That's been helpful. So that's been really nice, at least for me. And then getting to use some of my organizational skills and some of my skills at technology has been really cool, because that's just a strong suit of mine from working in IT and working in IT project management and things like that. So, and then I used to play MMORPGs, like MUD versions, so textual-based versions, when I was like 11 or 12. And so even though World of Warcraft was a thing, I instantly went, pictures aren't for me. So it was cool to see that you guys were doing an online role play thing. And that's why I immediately jumped on it, because I was like, this is my game. So I got to like text stuff back. And I remember when you, Kodiak, were like, you're like actually saying things and your eyes are glowing and you're jumping off buildings and you're doing crazy stuff with your weapons. And I was like, I was born ready for this.
Yeah, it's super good. That's so awesome.
That was a lot of fun, and being able to kind of show that off and role play at first without having the pressure of being in person.
Okay. All right. So we're gonna go ahead and assume that Zana has removed Barbarian from this question. No, we're not. What class are you most excited to play in Amcard?
Didn't you already ask me this question?
I asked you what your favorite class was, and the most exciting one is Druid, but you never say it, so I was giving you an opportunity to say Druid. Ice Ball, Icy Blast.
Oh, is it Icy Blast?
There's two of them. Again, okay. Teleport.
You would know. So.
Poison weapons. Whatever. I mean, I'm not saying they're awesome, but I play it all the time. So, what is you? So is it still Barbarian? We've talked like 10 questions now. Is it still Barbarian?
As my favorite class?
Yeah.
You're like gonna get so sad just as we go through this if I don't say Druid at least once. There you go. I said it. I said Druid.
Well, there it is. She didn't commit to it being her favorite, but
I didn't. But at least I said it, and that makes you happy.
Yes, and that's all that really matters. So, the next question that Sana had was, what is the park you're most excited to visit?
Pegasus Valley.
Well, I mean, at least she's repping her home park.
Yeah, I live in Albuquerque.
I won't take offense because you haven't actually got to be at Pegasus Valley yet, so it's fair that you don't travel right away. You meet the people locally first.
You want me to come down to Las Cruces?
Well, I mean, I want everyone to come to Las Cruces.
No, I'm pretty excited to go down to Las Cruces too.
Oh, there you go.
I'll go down. I'll go down there.
So, Spooky would like to know, how do you feel about belt families?
So I actually had to get a call from Zana to tell me what belt families were, because I saw that question and I had nothing in my notes. And if I don't have anything in my notes, I don't know. So I got a little bit of a lowdown on it. And I think it's a pretty cool way to link people up, to do mentorship, and to really spread knowledge and see, like, kind of create a family within itself outside of like a general purpose or fighting. So I think that's pretty cool. So that's at least my initial thoughts on belt families. And I think people from who I've heard from that have been belted in various ways, they've really enjoyed it. They're really proud of it. And so I think that's really cool.
Okay. So how would you feel about being offered a belt?
I don't know. I think it would depend on who asked and whether they had whiskey or chocolate. I'm also privy to chocolate. See, I think that's pretty much it.
Okay.
And must love pandas. That's like the last thing. Like must caption this whole thing.
So I wanted to know, just as someone who's done some LARPing and had an opportunity to experience some role play and whatnot, what would be your ideal reign theme? You had 6 months that you wanted to do something special. What would it be?
Okay. So I thought this was kind of mean because what I want to do is Labyrinth. But that's already been done. But I did think of 80s fantasy because, you know, there's so, like, I love 80, I'm getting all tied up, but I love 80s fantasy films. And because I'll list off some of the 80s fantasy films and you guys will then be like, oh, okay, cool. Because it's Never Ending Story, Labyrinth, Legend, Willow, Princess Bride, Dark Crystal, Gremlins, Return to Oz, and the original Conan the Barbarian. Imagine that kind of like mingling of awesome 80s fantasy characters, like all in one theme. So cool. And it was such a great time for fantasy films. And I feel like some of our newest fantasy films have kind of lost that almost whimsical artistry that came with fantasy during that time. And so, yeah, that would be really exciting. If I couldn't do that, if that was too close to the Labyrinth, I would do Borderlands. Because Borderlands. And then I would get to play Tiny Tina.
Fantastic. Zana would like to know what your thoughts on ASMRs are.
They're pretty.
Fantastic.
But also they're the reverse of Beatrix. So Beatrix will kill them. But they're pretty, you know. But yeah, so.
Okay. Still would like to know what kind of face paint you use.
So I got it. It's just cream makeup is what I use, really because it's easy to remove with just regular makeup wipe. So you get to just take it off and it's really easy. It's really easy to put on. You can't really do very fine details with it. So you have to either have a fine point paintbrush to be able to do that. I like within my characters having it be a little smudgy, but if I were to do a more perfectionist character on that, I would do that. You can also use body markers, which can run a little expensive, but they're really nice. And that's what I use sometimes for fine lines, like if I'm doing something along my arms or along my chest, things like that. And then I will also use for like if I were to, like I wear murder masks, which are basically the mask that we wear now, but where it goes around here and then clips in the back. And so sometimes I'll do the whole front of my face, either red or gray or yellow. And so I'll use food dye with sunscreen, and you just mix it up in a sunscreen bottle and then and then you get sunscreen because I'm pale.
also references in the chat that you guys should swap makeup techniques and tips.
Yay. So down.
Okay. Tajima, because that's how we say it, wants to know what your favorite piece of garb is.
So speaking of murder masks, it's murder masks. I just think they're really rad and they can be really cool, and it's something that also I have a hard time when I like fight, like tensing up my face, and so I'll jump and people are like, you're gonna hit me because you're making that face. So it helps me not be able to see that, or not have them not be able to see that, as well as sleeves. I love sleeves. I think they're so fun and they're so roomy, and then nobody knows, you don't know where my arms are. It could be anywhere.
Aren't they the thing sticking up in the air?
Nope.
Oh, okay.
Because this isn't my arm. This is my arm.
Okay. Good stuff. All right.
Helping me out so much.
So Kenjin would like to know, what is your image of an ultimate dream kit look like? So if you were going to load yourself out head to toe, what would that look like?
I had to do some daydreaming for this because I was like, what is my dream? But what I've seen some cosplayers do, and what would be really cool is adding certain for example, thinking about my murder mask and stuff, which is in the mail, yay. It has different slits in it for my maw. That's why I do this on the bottom and on the sides, is because I'm supposed to have like a maw, like of fleshy teeth thing. So, and this is the pretty way to do that. So, I want to do that and then have like smoke coming out. Like when I press a button or something like that, like having smoke coming out. And then they'll have like smoke shields, and then just like a full lava kit that'll have like pieces of it that will lighten and darken at different times, like a lava flow. I really thought of that, and I thought that would be really cool. So some type of light and full lava kit with smoke would be rad.
Yeah, it would be. Absolutely.
I wouldn't fight in it, but it would be rad. Like
would be fantastic.
Pop in my face.
You just show up to court and you're just smoking in the background, like.
Yeah, dude. Rad.
So Kenjin would also like to know, does your quarantine fitness regimen include any specifics for combat?
Sure. So shoulders is a big thing for me, because one, I am a female, and I'm cisgendered female. So my shoulders are a little bit weaker. I also do have a shoulder injury, and so I'm doing a lot of that, working a lot of that, because when you hold a 7-foot pole arm for a long time and you're just thrusting it at people, that that'll do a wear and tear on your shoulders a little bit. Also with core and hip flexibility, so I try to make sure I maintain that. And then with sword and board, you're holding a shield up for this long and having to sometimes I'll do this when I'm shielding and things like that, so I don't move it around a bunch. Mm-hmm. But being able to support that for a long amount of time, so trying to build those those back muscles, your lats and things like that, have been a real focus of me. And then running for endurance, because you don't typically sprint. I sometimes will. Little foreshadowing for my fighting. You don't usually sprint, but trying to keep cardio going, keep going for a long time, so that you can just wear out those nerds that aren't used to running so much. So, so I'll keep that up.
Okay. Tajima wants to know what your thoughts on dips are.
Yeah. So dips are, for those who don't know, it's where so typically it's a tricep dip. So where you're holding yourself up, you're pushing up and then going down. Now, so I actually have notes on that one because I did have a few thoughts. So it's good for an overall exercise because it works out your shoulders, your triceps, your back, and it also is a functional workout. So if you do different types of calisthenics, which is body weight exercises, you're using functional different workouts. So very rarely are you going to be actually lifting something like this in everyday life. You're going to be pulling yourself, pushing yourself, things like that. And so it can really help with that. But it can be really hard on your joints when you're doing calisthenic workouts and you're not quite up to that level of fitness. It can impact your joints. And think about it as if you were given at a gym, you hadn't worked out in a long time, and somebody gives you a 150-pound weight and goes, lift this over your head, and you're going to be like, no, that's going to hurt. It's the same thing. So you want to emphasize modifications to your exercises. So if you're doing dips, emphasizing just putting your feet at a 90-degree angle, then going out to a full angle, and then maybe lifting up your foot on either a stability ball or a chair as an escalation of that exercise, and then starting with smaller amounts. So you might not be able to do 10 or 12 dips for 4 rounds. That's a lot. It's a good amount for your shoulders to endure, and your whole back. So try, doing like a 5 maybe at a time, and then working yourself up, and then varying out the medium to hard types of dips.
Fantastic.
Fitness with Beatrix.
Right. Well, actually, would it be beneficial for you to plug your little your video series that you started?
Sure.
Okay.
Sure. Yeah. So I do a video series with my friend Sethra, and I am on that series. I am Beeswall. That is my beefcake name. And then her name is Buffra, and so we are the Valkyries, like Valkyries, but Valkyries. And so we do a series on Tuesdays at 7. And we use kind of the same setup that these guys have. And we'll talk about, we're talking about recovery next week, but we've also talked about kind of our journeys and then how to find your right workout. And we did this in a way that, I was looking at these Instagrammers and these YouTube influencers with shiny kitchens and perfect complexions and who said, I've never struggled in my life. I've always been skinny. You should be skinny too. And that was really hard, but actually talking to somebody who's like, no, foam rolling sucks and it's gonna hurt. So telling you the truths of it. So, and that's been a lot of fun. So you should check it out.
Okay, awesome. Tajima was interested in knowing your thoughts on households and companies.
So I also had to get a little bit of I already knew a bit about it, but just wanted to clarify. So households, I think is great. I think I'd like to be a part of as many households as I could handle of special interest groups and things like that around various things so I think that's really cool. And then fighting companies. So I didn't prepare an answer for that one. So I think that's cool too. And I just don't know when it comes to fighting companies. I feel like I need to definitely be better at the sport in general. And I was really excited when Sir Anatole came on and started talking about the wheel, and that helped me get a little bit more of an understanding about different fighting companies and how those work for you guys. And it's pretty similar to fighting units for Belagarth. Except I think the only difference that I've heard, again, this is what I've heard, so if it's not true, you guys can tell me. But from what I've heard is that fighting units in Belagarth are more around how do you help advance the unit and how do you become better fellows of war and fight against other units, versus your fighting companies are more around how do you build yourself as a fighter and how do you get better as a fighter? How do you train in different things so that you can advance into different areas of fighting?
Yep. Okay. Last question in Ampguard, and then we get to the funny ones. So, still lets to know, have you formed any long-term goals for Ampguard?
It's on the first page. Okay, so long-term goals. So I'd like to help get to a close to the MPO status. So I am part of the transition committee now. So doing my magic of cat herding and everything to help get that to a close. What?
Just calling out all lamp gardeners as cats, and that's cool.
Everybody that's not me is a cat. Because I'm a panda. No, I'm kidding. Anyway. Way to just like make fun of my first goal.
My apologies.
So I'd like to help Zana with the Blue Lanterns. I know that was something that she stated on a previous KOK that I've talked with her about. So she and she's reached out to me. So we've talked about a few of the pieces there. So I'd like to help with that and be a part of that as much as I can. I want to win all the knighthoods, just like all of them, like just blanket across. That's goal number 3. And then I'd like to visit every park, which I found out today means I want to be a dragon rider.
Well, Dragon Rider is something that a lot of people in our kingdom still shoot for. So
Cody, I have a question for you.
That's not how this works.
It is now. What was the free woman thing at the midbrain? I was kind of surprised.
Because you hold no titles, no paragons or knighthood, you're a peasant in our game, which makes you a free woman or free man or free person.
Okay. I thought like it meant that like I wasn't connected to like PV or something like that, and I was like, I paid my dues.
No.
Okay. Could I be a free demon?
Sure. Sir Francis, make note, please. Next time we have to call her up for awards. Sir Francis, I feel like I'm going to tap as my full-time herald. He does an amazing job announcing people.
No, he did. I was just surprised when I was like, what does free woman mean? Like,
okay, free demon. Sure.
I was like, I thought it was always going to be free. Yeah.
Okay. So here we are, the funny section. I did pick some ones from older ones because I thought I really wanted to hear your opinion on some of these.
No. I'm going to disappoint.
Well, here we go. Morgan's original question was, if you could meet anyone in history, who would it be?
David Bowie.
Why?
Oh, that wasn't a part of the question.
Well, right. I just... Why?
I really love his music. I really love his acting. I enjoy how he approached life. He approached life as if, just never be bored and always try new things and always be curious. I forgot the quote. If I knew I was going to get asked why, I would have remembered the quote. But the quote around just basically never taking things for granted and always just wanting your life to not be boring. Somebody can Google the quote and put it in the chat, and then you'll be smarter than me right now.
Okay. Would like to know your stance on Queen.
And at first I saw that and I was like, Queen is in like me being queen? Like that was initially what I thought. And I was like, guys, I already started like a few months ago, like calm down. But Queen, the band, the thing that we've been making fun of, or not making fun. You've been making fun of.
I haven't been making fun. No, I have not been making fun.
You've just been hating. It's true. There's a big difference. I think their songs are fun to sing, and I think they've actually done a lot for newer artists. A lot of times, Brian May will work with younger artists or up-and-coming artists and teach them through some of the songs and things like that and help them work through it. I think they're a little too obsessed with their image. And the reason why I say that is that it took a while for them to make that the musical and then the movie, because they're really coveted over their own legacy and the legacy of Freddie Mercury. When if you listen to people who've met him or who have worked with him, he has a very complex, actually kind of a disturbed past. And it's something that I don't feel like Queens allowed him to have as far as his history goes. And so I'd really like for them to let go of that so that we could actually understand Freddie Mercury as he was instead of what they want us to think that he was.
Okay, that's fair.
Also, I think you could rock a tank top. So Devrik's a hater.
Deverick, you've been called out. I wouldn't rock a tank top for fear of scaring the children, but moving on. Zana would like to know, what is your favorite hot food and what is your favorite cold dessert?
So my favorite hot food, now if we're talking in terms of hot as in like fresh from the fryer in this case, it would be French fries. And if we're talking hot as in spicy, I am a complete wimp. I do not know why I ended up in New Mexico where your thing is green chilies on everything because Lord knows I can't handle it. So, but pad thai is about the closest I can do. I can do some red chilies. Those are pretty good. I actually found out though that it is a trait of people with red hair that we can be more susceptible to spice.
I don't know why you're saying we, Beatrix. I don't.
Really?
I don't.
Are you sure?
Yeah, positive.
Pretty red. Pretty red, bud.
Definitely brown. But what about your favorite cold dessert?
I like a good classic hot fudge sundae.
It's got the word hot in it, but.
Well, yeah, it's ice cream in it. I also put slash fudge popsicle. So if you want to do that, just take that and run with it.
So we're gonna put a fudge popsicle inside of a hot fudge sundae. Yeah. This is why I'm king. Is I think outside the box. I work really hard. Ice cream inside of ice cream. That's what we're doing.
I just like that. I'm a fan of chocolate. Anything with chocolate.
Kron would like to know: cats, dogs, or scaly boys?
Dogs.
Dogs. Okay.
I also did own a bearded dragon at one point in time, so that was fun. But she couldn't make it down to Albuquerque. She wouldn't survive.
Okay.
So I just noticed there's a vacuum behind me, which is lame as hell. I've been doing this whole RPing demon thing, and then mundane Emily has kind of like creeped into the background.
Well, I mean, you also got up and moved out of screen in the middle of it, and so we could see the vacuum very early on. So, yeah. At least you take care of you take care of your living quarters. It's fantastic. Kron would also like to know: will Tajima be allowed to play Magic the Gathering with Kron, the Head Smasher?
Magic the Gathering is an inclusive game, so why not? It doesn't mean he'll win. I don't know who will win. Ooh. You guys let me know.
Okay. All right. Tajima would like you to say Tajima.
Tajima.
Above and beyond, folks.
There you
That's
go.
what we're here for. Above and beyond. Going back to a question about Tajima, though, Sir Francis would like to know, does Tajima deserve Sonic?
So no, and I'll tell you why.
Okay.
So I actually worked at Sonic headquarters as an IT software analyst and developer. So you know those, what they're called pop stalls, but you would just call them stalls when you drive up. So I would actually program the menus and do the technical installs and do the troubleshooting, as well as do the cloud management for each of the stores. And I, by the way, hated the Albuquerque market because there's 3 franchises here, all within one county, and all of them do things differently. And so it was a pain in the butt. But anyway, so I know what goes on. And I was also, where I worked at Sonic headquarters was above the tasting kitchen. So the new food would come up through the vents and everything whenever we were working. So I think he deserves better than Sonic. I don't know what that is, but I think he deserves better.
He deserves better than Sonic. Okay. All right. All right. We'll make a note. We're making notes here, folks. Yeah. All right. Stillhat would like to know, why is Halo the best first-person shooter that's ever been made?
Okay, so I have a story for this too. So when I was a kid, my parents did not believe in video games. We got a Nintendo 64 when I was like tiny, and I still remember it. Like I loved watching my brother play it, and so like one of my earliest memories is watching my brother play Nintendo 64. And I remember Duck Hunt for some reason more than Super Mario Brothers. But but after that, after the Nintendo 64 broke, I didn't get any other games. And so I was super mad. And what the only thing that I had was an educational game for an 8th grader that I don't even remember how I had that game, but I had it and I would play it all the time as a young child. And so when my brother came home one time, because he's 14 years older than me, and so he came home one time, and I think it was Halo 2, what makes sense because it came out in 2004, and I think I was around 11 at that time, so it's around like 10, 11, 12. And he came home and he said, hey, Emily, I know you like to play games, and you've been playing that same game over and over again. I'm a nerd too, here's a game. And he was leaving later that day, and he gave it to me in the morning. And all I remember is putting it in and starting to play. And I really got into it. And suddenly he comes into the room and he goes, hey, Emily, I'm leaving. I need my game back. And I was like, where did time go? I've only been on here for like a couple hours. He's like, Emily, you've been on that for like 9 hours. and so I became addicted to Halo. Was probably the first game that I ever became addicted to. Now, because I've had such a close memory with that game, I do think it's a really great first-person shooter, and I will never hate on it. I really like Borderlands. That's my favorite first-person shooter.
Okay.
I think it has an awesome storyline. I think it's had an amazing offshoots. I also have followed the makers of Borderlands and some of the voice actors of Borderlands for a very long time since they started their own YouTube series. So I have a long history with them. But first-person shooters are actually my favorite games. So I wrote a few down. So Borderlands, Doom, Destiny, Half-Life, Overwatch, Team Fortress, Left 4 Dead, because I think if anything is like my favorite, like I just want to chill and like shoot things, it's zombie ones. Yeah. So Left 4 Dead, and then Titanfall. So those are my list of favorite first-person shooters.
Fantastic. All right. Bear with me, viewers of Kingdom of Kodiak. Kron would like to know, is it possible to make a funky, fresh rap verse that's too funky and fresh for the general public? And if so, at what point does being too funky and fresh cause one to suffer from illin like a villain?
See, I don't think I'm even supposed to answer that question. They were just supposed to hear you say that question.
Well, there we are. There it is. I did it. Okay, cool. Next question. Zana would like to know the best She-Ra character, followed up with your princess.
So my favorite She-Ra character is Mysteria. I think she's really fun, really cool. I love her jokes and stuff. I've only gotten through season 1, so I haven't really experienced all of them yet, but I got through a little bit there, taking my lunchtime to do it. And then is it who I think I am, or is it, I thought it was who I think I am.
Yeah, who do you think you are?
I want to say I'm Mermista. That's what it is. It's Mermista. I pronounced it wrong. So Mermista. So I want to say I'm Mermista. I wrote it down too. I did. Not that you needed to see that. But so I want to say Remista, but I'm not. I'm probably Entrapta. So, because I'm geeky and weird and socially awkward, and then get really excited about things that nobody's excited about, like demon lore and project management.
All right. And finally, Beatrix, are we going to win in the end?
If we're strong, if we're brave, and if we use every bit of this strength.
Fantastic. Beatrice, that's all the questions I have for you today. I'm going to thank you so much for coming on. You made it. You did it. I'm proud of you. Just a couple of quick announcements for the kingdom, real quick if I could. Dragonspine Monarchs, you've been reached out to discuss your action plans for moving forward with transitions. Most of your reigns are coming to an end or have come to an end. Please reach out about that. Additionally, park PMs, audits are going to be due for the BOD meetings. We're going to set a precedent. We're going to make history next week is what I'm saying. Kingdom of Kodiak is going to have Kodiak on. Beatrix and Deverick have requested it. Apparently, it's a big deal. We'll watch it go down in smoke. I don't mind.
It was the only way I was going to get on this show.
It's the only way I could get her on the show was to agree to come on the show myself and essentially have an hour and a half roast. But until then, I've been Kodiak. This is Kingdom of Kodiak. Goodbye.